with pockets. We don't want to even imagine what pool's like without pockets, right,
Well,
Chris?
I think there's a guy named Mr. Gorst out there that he ain't liking the pockets too much either. After that one last match, he didn't like that pocket. No, because the white ball went in it a couple times, and
Yeah.
the third time,
That was a pretty rough way
let's
of
talk
losing.
about luck in pool. Put it out
Yeah.
there.
Well-
I heard one time, this is 40 years ago now, somebody wrote in a book that professional pool was 25% luck.
Well,
That's
that guy
the
is
number that was out
25%
there.
an
This is
idiot.
40 years ago now, and I thought that number was high at the time.
Yeah.
That's high. It's not that much luck.
That
But
guy's a 25% idiot.
if you got a little bit of bad luck, just a little, it doesn't take much sometimes under certain conditions. Just need a little bit of bad luck. I mean, that was sick. That was just sick. That how can that even? You say how can things happen in pool where you say how did that happen? I hear it all the time. How did I just do that?
Yeah.
How did how can anybody get that unlucky?
I mean, I
Three
get what
jump
you're-
shots in a row, and the last one a jump bank.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but like the match goes hill, and it comes down to that. I mean, sure, it ends unlucky, but Fedor was. Am I wrong in saying he was up like 7-2 or something crazy in that set before that happened?
Something like that. Five or six. It was 6-3 at one point, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
He had a comfortable lead, and
Yeah.
it doesn't take much of an opening for Francisco to come back and blow through that door, but it's not like that match came down to that, and that was the only reason he lost.
Lately,
But it's a pretty entertaining way of losing, and it's a really sad way of losing. But for the viewers, it's pretty good cinema.
Crazy sequence of shots,
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But the luck thing, it's just amplified the higher the level you're watching. The luck stuff.
Well,
just
and
amplified.
it should be, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
One lucky roll should cost you 2 games.
Yeah, it's the same as one missed ball. The one missed ball hardly ever just means you've lost that frame. You usually get punished the frame after as well. It's just a weird thing that seems to happen at high level.
Yeah, and at the highest level, it's almost silly watching some of these like bar table races to 100 that were really popular about 3 years ago. But it's almost silly watching those. Sky would make a mistake and Dennis would run a 7.
Yeah.
Dennis would make a mistake and Sky would run a 4. Sky would make a mistake and Dennis would run a 3. Dennis would make a mistake and Sky would run a 6. And next thing you know, you've played, I don't know, 100 racks of pool, and there's been 14 innings between the two players. It's
yeah. It wasn't very interesting to watch that stuff. I did try and watch a couple of them, but it wasn't good viewing for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, they're I don't know. They're a tough watch, I think. I enjoy them for the artistry of it, because I think when you watch a bar table event, I mean, you have to understand that you're watching a different game of pool. I mean, you're close. I mean, it's in the same way like you watch snooker and 3-cushion billiards. I mean, they are fundamentally different games of pool. Pocket billiards, or I guess not pocket billiards in one of them, but they're just different games. I mean, you can't look at bar table 10 ball as the same as big table 9 ball. It's fundamentally a different game.
Yeah.
And if you look at it as, if you're viewing it as the same exact game, of course, those are the people that are sitting on YouTube saying, well, that's a stupid table. Your buckets are too big. I could run 50,000 racks on that. And of course, it's just a different game. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Wendy was there with her husband, Jeff, owners of Top Hat Tavern, Superior. So we'll give a shout out to them. They were in the crowd. Pretty awesome stuff right there. That was, I do kind of miss going on. I don't like the
sweatshirt on.
What?
I have a.
You're wearing a top hat now.
3-cushion. It's upstairs. My wife washed it, so I should have put it on today.
I'm not the biggest fan of that event, the amateur side of the event, but the pro side of it. I mean, having 2 world quality events in, I don't know, like that 8-day stretch or whatever it is between the Alpha Las Vegas Open and the Predator World 10 Ball. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
And this 10 ball that's going on now.
The Premier League, that's 9 ball.
Well, it drifts.
Oh, the U.S. Open, the U.S. Open 10 ball.
Which
completely gets overshadowed because, I don't know, what great events they were, and they will probably be nothing in a couple of years. Although
wasn't
I look at,
advertised
I
very well.
scanned the field. There's some great players in that field, but I guess the only other thing that those great players can, they're all in the U.S. and the only thing else that they can play in theoretically right now is a Premier League, which is an invite only. So, I guess you have 400 of the best players in the world. That's a bit of an exaggeration. I guess 200 of the best players in the world between the Alpha and the Predator World 10 ball, and only 20 of them get to go to the Premier League. So I guess, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you hang around in Las Vegas for 3 or 4 days more and play in a $10,000 added event?
Yeah, it was probably only 12 of them because the two ladies didn't play. Obviously in the World 10 ball, and Earl and Jason didn't play in it either. So there's only 16 players in the Premier League pool field. So everybody else, barring 12, are in Vegas. But those events, the US 10 ball and the 8 ball, didn't see them advertised anywhere. I tried to find info on them about a month ago, how to enter and stuff. Even on AZ Billiards on the tournament calendar, you click through, you didn't get anywhere. It was just, I ended up emailing CSI in the end, but they never got back to me. So yeah, it was a bit of a ball ache, but yeah, not very well advertised anyway.
Well, I think Mark Griffin always put this event on.
Yeah,
out of Griff's.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, Mark Griffin passed this year. So
Yeah.
I don't know who takes that over. I don't know how much of the advertising and the marketing that he did specifically. I don't know how much of it was headed off by his team, but unfortunately, I guess maybe this is the outcome of a very unfortunate passing.
Yeah,
is that this event kind of hopefully doesn't go downhill, but maybe the struggle that they found for this was, a hole that somebody realizes they need to fill going forward. Maybe it's just hopefully a one-time thing.
They're legitimate events. It would be a shame if they disappeared or lost some of that legitimacy for sure.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Matchroom's got to get their events in as their schedule grows. There are going to be a bunch of casualties that used to be some of the best events in the world. These US 10 ball, 8 ball, one pocket banks, they were never world quality events, I would say, but they were the next thing to it 6 years ago. And now they're an afterthought.
Equally, quite a lot of the Matchroom events, the new ones that have come up, are more regional focused. So that does give an opportunity for all of those other secondary events that you're talking about to up their game and fill that void, because there are a lot more players who play full time, right?
Yeah, but it's like saying the British Open for golf is a regional event.
No, it's not. I'm talking about like the Asian Tour events. Shane isn't going to go out and play in like the Singapore Open or there's only
Shane won't go across the street at this point.
Yeah, okay, so bad example. You know what I'm saying, right? They're limited fields and they're focused on players within the region.
I'll be interested to see if the true test for me, when it comes down to it, the Europeans are the absolute professionals about going, and I shouldn't say all of them, but you see those social media posts of Dennis Graba and Alex Kazakis and Mario He and Oliver Solnaki or all of the Polish players. They load up in a van and they just drive all across the U.S. I mean, those are the type of players that go to every single event that they can go to.
Yeah.
That to me is going to be the test as to whether or not the Asian Opens are going to be world events or if they're going to be regional events.
So they're going to have the one big Asian Open, and I'm going to try to go to that. And I think a lot of the international players will, but the smaller ones will be the ones that they don't carry the prize. They probably won't carry the prize money to attract international fields. Asia's always expensive to fly to. So yeah, not 100% sure. But the flip side of that is that you're going to have so many more Asian names in the world rankings, which is awesome because the Philippines, some of those countries, it's harder to travel from for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, visas, most specifically.
Visas, all sorts of economic reasons. Why there's probably 100 well beaters in the Philippines we've never heard of. So it'll be good that they get an opportunity to travel within their own region, get their names on the world rankings. That'll be really interesting to see what comes out of it.
Out of curiosity, Sean and Wendy, when you guys are talking about them being behind the matches, are you talking about the pro event? You're not. I can't imagine you're talking about the pro events. You must be talking about the amateur, the BCAPL, or the USAPL or whatever the amateur events are out there. Let me know which events you're talking about out there. So yeah, I mean, I guess let's jump into the events. We left off last time. We had talked about the Alpha Las Vegas Open, the men's and the women's, and the World 10 Ball was literally getting underway like a couple of racks by the time we finished off the podcast last week. So that's the big thing we have to talk about. We can talk a little bit about the Premier League pool. They're starting on day number 2. I guess they're halfway through day number 2 at this point. Probably actually almost finished. No, I guess they're just starting in the afternoon session.
Just started the evening session.
Yeah, just starting the evening session. So bad timing on our part, but what can you do? Eklent Kaci gets a second World 10 Ball Championships. I loved the professional look of this. I guess just looking at the event as a whole, it looked amazing. I mean, it
really looked great.
Yeah, I mean that wraparound TV display or whatever you want to call that looked amazing. I hope that is on their events at all of them going forward. I know what their setup was before. It was like literally a bunch of pieces of paper with some Velcro on it, and then they just stuck them up together and put them together in a line, and that's how they set up before. I watched that setup a bunch of times. I was involved with it a lot of times. It looked fine. I mean, it looked okay, but it looked okay in a sense of you didn't know exactly what it could look like, and this is what it could look like. And wow, did it look incredible!
Yeah, it's all about competing standards, right? The production value of all pool tournaments is being dragged along one way or another. Matchroom are up in the game, Predator are pulling things along. Like I say, that wraparound and all that sort of stuff looked amazing.
I think that I do think that I will say the only thing that I didn't like about it was it was absolutely fantastic, but it kind of took away the crowd dynamic, and I guess in hindsight that's probably a good thing. I don't know that you need to have the crowd be as seen as they were in the past, but it is always kind of fun. I travel to a lot of these Predator events, or I have in the past, and I go to a lot of the VNEA Worlds. I go to BCAPL at Vegas a lot. I go to a lot of different events, and I meet a lot of different people from around the country and a lot around the world. And it is kind of cool for me just kind of looking out and being like, oh, I know him, or, oh, look, a queued up t-shirt, or, stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see that in the crowd. It's really hard to see the crowd at this point, but in the grand scheme of things, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I mean, if there's one little small critique I have about it, is it takes the crowd dynamic out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, because the table's so well lit, everything in the background does look dark. But I mean, the arena is like
perfect.
Well, the crowd was subdued compared to the Mosconi Cup type of an atmosphere and crowd. They were just respectful and just laid back, and the commentators made some comments about the crowd, and that though they're a very knowledgeable crowd when they were being appreciative of certain shots by different players being made in certain matches and stuff. Yeah, I thought there was just a normal spectator thing going on. Nothing. I mean, that frenzy that we saw when you saw Billy with that get up on, there was nothing like that going on out there, and because that was pretty special. I mean, that was quite the get up he had on.
I mean, as far as the crowd in general, I mean, or I guess the arena in general, I like the flooring. Before you could kind of see like it was like those puzzle pieces of just like the foam that kind of gets stuck together.
Yeah.
And you could see like the cracks in the foam, and you could see where they kind of put together. I just thought at the end of the day, with how great their events are, that needed to go bye-bye, and it did for this one. Or at least they got new carpeting, so you can't actually see that those cracks. I just thought Predator, they needed to step up their game, because at the end of the day, they were falling behind a little bit on the production side of things to Matchroom. And just given the ambiance of this entire new build that they had, I mean, as far as just maybe not the camera work, but as far as just the presentation and the way that it looks, I think it looks better than Matchroom right now. What do you think?
Well, I think it's giving them a run, and that's good for pool. Anything that's good for the game with these little crazy balls bouncing around is good with me. I'm all on board. A little competition, just the awareness of. I see more pool tables in TV commercials than I ever have in my life, and also in like Netflix specials and that are on these drama type things. There's pool tables in these shows, and they're shedding a quality light on the game again. It deserves that now.
Sure. Chris, what do you think?
Long enough, especially in the USA. It's been in the gutter long enough. It's time for it to come out.
Yeah, it's out of it now. I would say the product. I don't know. I like the Matchroom stuff, but I equally like the stuff that was going on at the Predator event. I thought it was good. The production was good. I watched 4 or 5 matches. They were on quite late for us, but I watched 4 or 5 games all the way through, and I thought everything was good. The commentators at the Matchroom events are just
much better,
different level,
much better. Yeah, much better.
I think that's
fair. A little bit for sure. There was that. What kind of got me a little bit was a lot of the commenting when the non-professional commentators were in the box were pretty negative and stuff like that. And that kind of gets me a little bit. It's obvious that these people don't do this for a living. They're just up there kind of pitching in, trying to do that, and give them a little bit of a break.
It's
if
different.
They don't sound quite as good as JJ or Kelly Fisher or Allison Fisher or somebody.
You can give them a break, but you don't have to give a break to the people who are putting them on, right? Because, I mean, if there's one thing that Matchroom does have right, I mean, Carl Boyce is the best of the business for my money. I just think Carl is absolutely incredible in the box. I think Alex Laley is a close second. I think JJ is really, 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 really good too. I mean, he's probably a close third in my opinion. I think Jeremy Jones is still incredible. I don't always think that he just doesn't have the ability to relate as much to the average viewer, if that makes sense. I mean, I would like to think that I'm a high enough level player that I understand what he's going on and I understand what he's trying to get at. But I know that I've talked to my students, people that I work with, and they're like, I can't listen to him when he starts getting super technical. No, when he starts getting technical, they have no idea what he's talking about. They just have no.
He's my favorite, I think, because he does go into that level of.
Sure.
And I would like to think that you and I understand it, and we can kind of relate to that. And I obviously get tidbits from it. I love Jeremy Jones. I'm just looking at it from like an overall perspective. I think Carl is the ability to be as technical or close to as technical as Jeremy Jones, but still be able to relate it to the lower level.
Right. They get the chemistry right with the pairings for the commentary on.
Some of the commentators they use words. There was one fella for a match that I listened to and watched was he used terms to describe the cue ball on the table, its position in relation to the other balls, like low or high.
Yeah.
If you're talking about how you hit the cue ball, that's fine. You can go low and high, but a lot of people ain't going to get what he just said, and I think all about that. There's certain terms you kind of got to stay away from.
Yeah. So a couple of the people you're talking about, they're probably more used to in the UK, and certainly people who are used to watching snooker, high and low are completely legitimate, terms. Get high on the blue to come back into the pack, low on the black, high on the black, whatever.
Okay, sure. There was some of that. So and that's a little bit confusing to me too. Because what does he mean by that? High? Okay, further above the ball. Okay, I get it. That kind of thing. But somebody that's, I don't know, new at pool, or they're not going to have a clue.
I agree.
That's going to lose them.
Yeah, they're not. It's not rocket science. At the same, you can't cater to everybody. They're better off talking at a level that.
Another one, I forgot completely about Niels because I still look at him more as a player than I do a commentator. But yeah, Niels is absolutely incredible too. Yeah, I do agree with Aaron though. I think Tony Robles I really like Tony Robles on the call. I don't think that he has the skills that a Carl or an Alex or a JJ have. I mean, he calls the game all right, but I don't feel that he relates to the listeners quite as well. But I also think that Tony Robles is one of the best human beings I've ever met in my entire life. So I'm also a little, I just think he's an amazing person. So, but yeah, I think he's definitely the best. And the one thing that I think Matchroom doesn't get credit for like they should, and it's a weird thing to give them credit for, is they find people that you cannot effing stand as color. Like Phil Yates, I'm to the point where like I just can't stand him. I hate him. He's always so negative. I swear to God, he's never potted a ball in his entire life, and yet he tells these players how stupid they are all the time, how bad of shots they play, and that's the kind of thing that you actually have to have. You almost have to like hate the color commentary, like the Joe Buck type of thing. You should hate that person because you just end up like hate listening to him. It's
he's multi-sport though. And a well-renowned journalist in the UK.
He's got a great voice. I mean, and he does know the game. I'm not trying to say he doesn't, but the way that he's negative on people, it's just but you're supposed to be like that.
You don't really hate him.
Well,
no,
I don't like listening to him. But at the same time, like I think that's honestly like that's not a bad thing. I think it's actually like kind of a good thing. People still listen to Fox Sports and they hate Joe Buck like crazy and Troy Aikman, But that's a football thing. You wouldn't understand that, Chris. Sorry.
I know who Troy Aikman is. I don't know who the other guy is.
Yeah, he's like the color commentary for Fox Sports for like the big games.
Right.
But I'm just talking about like when I talk about like the ambience of the arena and what it looks like. I think the Predator may have taken a step in front of Matchroom. However, I shouldn't even say that. I do think they clearly took a step ahead of them. But if you talk about like the room in general, Matchrooms, I mean, part of Matchroom where they're just absolute geniuses is they make a room like the US Open, the UK Open, stuff like that. They make the room so much fun to be a part of. I mean, everything about that room is thought out from table 26 to table number 2. Everything is perfectly in order. And Predator shoves pool tables in rooms like, they make the TV table absolutely incredible. Everything else they throw in they throw in there, throw some tables next to it, and that's it.
The Matchroom events, you can, if I'm not playing or something in between matches or a day off or whatever, you can still go down to the room and you can walk around. It's not like you have to walk in and sit down and look at a huge bank of tables in front of you. You can walk around all of the tables. It's like a maze, isn't it, at the Matchroom events, Nate? You can walk around all the arena through all the tables, see all the action from different angles. You can watch the TV tables from like every single side, while you're out there. I mean, me and you, we stand. I see Mike at the US Open, we all stand there and have a coffee and stuff in the middle of it. You're standing in the middle of the arena, pool tables
surrounded by 13 tables you can see.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's great.
Yeah,
no, it's great. They're all getting better at it.
Yeah, definitely.
And the more it happens.
Every single one of these events,
on the way up.
All of these promoters are just pushing each other, and I know that there's some bad blood, and they absolutely cannot stand each other, Predator and Matchroom, and it's become extremely personal, and everybody hates everybody else. But competition drives innovation, and I'm telling you what, if you'd have told me before COVID what this arena was going to look like and what Matchroom is doing, I'd be like, you guys are effing crazy. You know that this is pool and not cornhole, right? Or darts. It's incredible.
Well, Nate, honestly, I'm gonna pat you on the back here, buddy, a little bit. What you did during the COVID was a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
it kept them active. It kept them involved. Kept them looking and thinking pool.
And it got me to meet this cute little Chris guy. He's such a fun guy, isn't he?
We already did a thank you video for him. I'm not patting him on the back again. I'm not thanking him again.
I did get that. I still have that.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm never getting rid of that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He replays it every day.
That made me cry. That was fun. That the VG event, the VG10 and the VG10 2.0, the VG9, those were fun.
Yeah. And look at
okay, let's put it this way. If I did another one, would you play?
There was no pool being played. Yeah. People weren't under pressure, but those VGs, you could see it. From a spectator perspective, you could see the pressure on these players in that event working on it.
Well, there was a lot of money involved. I mean, to think about it, you could play my VG event, win it, never leave your house, never have a hotel fee, never have of course you have the entry fee, stuff like that. But you won more in my event than
he cut out there just
$1,000.
Yeah, he did cut out.
Yeah.
I think we don't know how much.
Oh, first place up for those was $6,000. I mean, that's more than a Euro
Okay.
Tour.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, when you think about it, yeah. You should start running the Euro Tour.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, I'll get right on that.
Replace the Euro Tour with the VG events. I'll be up for that.
No.
Come on, you got nothing else to do.
There's a place for it, even with no COVID. There is a place for it.
For sure.
I don't know if there is or not. I mean,
I've
I've spoken with one pool, and they're struggling with it quite a bit, and they kept on trying to do it.
Nate, I have friends that watch pool every waking minute of the day that they're either not at work or not sleeping. They're watching.
Have you seen the Pro Tour these days? There's basically an event every single second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back to the event. I guess Eklent Kaci wins it. I thought it was interesting. He was one of the few players who was the wing balls down a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to say that that's the reason he won, but I mean, as far as the way that he ran the balls out really well, and he made some great runouts. But I'm telling you what, like,
jumps as good as anybody I've ever seen.
Well, short of Fedor, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's smashing the rack from the middle. I mean, Shane wasn't even doing that. Shane went to the side break.
Right.
I mean, I just think that was an interesting dynamic that he was one of the few players who was doing that, and he ends up winning the event. But of course, he's doing it because he's making balls.
Every match, he just hung in. He hung around, and then when he needed to do it, get the job done, he did.
He hung around and let their opponents kind of hang themselves. Is what
and he took advantage of that. When he had the chance.
Yeah, Chris, what was your impression?
Oh, he's just a beast player. And if anybody is going to continue breaking from the middle all the way through, it's probably going to be the guy who's 6'4" and 260. He's a monster. He's big now, like he's big. So he's
he's top over me. I'm 6'2", and I look up to him. I mean, he's tall.
When he hit the rack, the sound was different.
Yeah.
It just was.
So in that, if he could, I wonder if he could harness that maybe for the break box and 9-ball. It could be something pretty special. He could have a big.
I don't know.
But he played great. He did hang in there in a lot of the games.
Those balls just exploded out of that rack when he broke.
He wasn't gifted anything though. He played every game I seen him play. He played brilliant. And if you take out filler and then FSR, take out filler and then FSR, semi in the final.
His shot making, his position might have been just a hair off, but his shot making was so good.
Yeah,
he was as good as any snooker player at their best.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, his cue ball. Yeah,
he just was really perfect at making the balls.
His cue ball was pretty good. His shot making was incredible.
But he didn't need to be not playing like that, not pocketing like that.
He shot a ball where like his cue ball was basically a little bit below the spot. He comes up way short. I believe it was on a 7-ball, and the 7-ball is like over on like the third rail, and he cuts it up past the side pocket at like an 80-degree cut, drills it center pocket, and ends up like perfect, not perfect on the 8, but like pretty good on the 8-ball. I mean, that's a shot that I would shoot that shot 10 times and be happy to make it 3 times, and he like drills it center pocket, no problem, no issue, and like doesn't even flinch.
It just shows when he's on. He
didn't look very nerved up to me. He looked pretty calm.
Yeah, he's been there before, done it before.
Yeah.
I think he'd done it in that exact same venue before a couple of years ago, right? It's not even 2 years ago either. It's like
it was. He won the year before Wojtek.
But it wasn't 2 years ago. I mean, in timeline wise, the tournament was at a different time of year. I think it was in October.
I don't think it was September. I think it was in August.
Was it?
I was there. I was there for it. It was August.
It wasn't 2 full years ago that this happened. That he won it the first time. So when he's on, like he's definitely in the top 10. When he's on, he can beat anybody. Yeah. Probably easily, you would say.
He's in that category of when he's playing his best game. There's nobody you can consistently say is better than him when he's playing his top game.
This tournament, just really every match I watched him was just consistent.
You can name 5 players that you know is going to beat him if he's playing this version of his game.
It's just it just proved that it's not going to happen unless somebody else is in full in full flow. If you can get 3 or 4 of those guys in full flow in one tournament, that's great. I think we were pretty close to that this time. Filler played great. FSR is just like doing what he does.
Yeah, this was the first event that I think Filler looked comfortable or close to comfortable with his new shaft. Still doesn't look like the same version, but
yeah. But yeah, it was a good tournament overall. I wanted Fran to win. I got to be honest, I wanted Fran to win, but just so that thing could have been done and it was just a record set. But I'm watching him in the Premier League pool and he just looks like he's back to. You wouldn't know he just played in the World Final like 2.5 days ago or whatever it was. You know, it's just.
You could call that the peak. He's hitting the peak of the stride.
Yeah,
his energy level just seems to be on a different level.
He's not like I heard Darren Appleton talk about this years ago, and he was talking about being pool fit. So he talked about a lot of the Filipinos being pool fit. And it's not about like being able to run a marathon or anything.
Yeah, tournament tough.
To, like, play 12, 13 matches over the space of 4 or 5 days and not get mentally drained and still be physically in good kind of shape.
Yeah,
and I think that's maybe where Fran is at the moment. That's kind of the space that he's in. And all the rolls are going his way. And, you know, it's just certainly in the semis, he got a lot of, you know, everything went his way. I'm not saying he got lucky, but everything did break for him in the semis. And he's just in that bubble where, you know, would you be surprised if he won the Premier League? Like, I'd probably 1 to 2 favorite, maybe. I think he's. Sure.
I would be. You can't say you'd be surprised if he won it, but like, I think that this tournament is like, I don't know that Albin is going to ever not win this because fatigue is so much of it. It is just so much. And there is nobody that I know of in the pool world that has the same pool form and like fitness form as Albin. I mean, Albin runs every day. Albin, like you can say Earl, but Earl can't like sniff Albin's talent at this point.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
Albin does the full physical and mental work that it takes to be a champion at the highest level. Yeah, and when it comes down to a fitness thing like this, 8 days of 6 matches a day, I mean.
Yeah. But on table form, you know, actually pool form at the moment, there's nobody in the tournament close to Fran, I would say.
No, not at this point. If the tournament was 3 days, I agree with you.
He's got some type of psyche thing working for him too, also. An attitudinal makeup, personal makeup in his own mind. He's got things resolved in the pool world, and so he stays positive because of that. And even when things don't go quite his way, he remains upbeat. Yeah,
it's certainly easy to do that when you have lost a match.
You know, Kaci earned this, man. He did.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, he I mean, it's not like Fran made mistakes. I mean, Kaci just took it. Kaci just took that win. And a lot. Shane made mistakes the entire tournament. He made mistakes against Eklent.
He got away with it early.
Eklent still took it. Yeah. I mean, Eklent took that win.
Yeah, and he had a loss, I believe. So.
Yeah. So I guess looking at the rest of the event.
Let's throw in put a little drama in this thing, and I want to shout out to Ed Ladawi, who when Mika was having his little turmoil there in his match, and they were talking about the rules, Ed went ahead and just gave everybody the rules right there in front of us. We could read them ourselves, and highlighted the important parts about that. And so shout out to him for that. That just straightened things out immediately.
I guess we never really talked about that. That was since that happened last. Chris, do you have any thoughts on the Mika and DeLuna?
They obviously don't like each other, but like,
there are very few pros that do like DeLuna. To be clear,
very few. Yeah. But if Mika had done that if Mika had reacted that way in a matchroom event, pretty sure he definitely would have got a warning. He might have been don't know if Emily would kick him out. But he definitely would have got a very severe warning for shouting at DeLuna like that. And there are other people in the pool world, whether Mick and Newey could get away with it or not with DeLuna, but there are people that if you shout at like that, if you're aggressive with like that with people, you're going to get a bad reaction. So he must have known that he was in a safe space doing that with DeLuna. But there are other people, if you do that with them, that's going to end badly for you.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but let's ask you this question. If he's playing against Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, does he have that same reaction?
No, I don't think so. I think
it's a DeLuna thing. Do you?
It's got to be the DeLuna thing, right? It's got to be.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
I mean, it's got to be DeLuna, and it's got to be a build-up because there was some build-up in the match up until that point. It wasn't just like that was the first interaction they had that match. I mean, there was a little bit of back and forth, and it got to the point where like Mika, I'm still laughing. 7-ball right over there, that corner pocket, the 7-ball. I might even play the 10-ball in that same pocket.
Yeah.
Who knows? 7-ball in the corner pocket.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's funny.
As far as theater, I mean, it was freaking hilarious. I mean, as far as like just looking at it happen, DeLuna was getting roasted a lot online for his previous interactions with players. I mean, when you go back and watch DeLuna versus Fedor and you see the moves he pulls, you know, Fedor, they come back from a break. Fedor says, "You ready to go?" He says, "Yeah, let's go." Fedor breaks and runs. He walks up to the table as if he's going to hit some balls too. Fedor says, "What are you talking about? I just asked you if you were ready to go." "Oh, I thought we were warming up."
Oh, no.
I don't like that. I mean, he pulls that move, and then you see him break from 6 inches in front of the kitchen, and then when you can literally see an overhead view of the break spot, and it's like 3 inches above the kitchen line from him breaking there so often, and Fedor just like letting him go about it. I mean, you don't do those things. You do those things because you're trying to get into your opponent's head. You're trying to play the long game of the mental fatigue.
Yeah,
DeLuna. Every single professional pool player that's been around for more than 5 years has a DeLuna story, and every single one of them will tell you it off the record.
Right.
A few of them will even go on the record. 99% of players will have a DeLuna story. He's known for doing this. With that being said, do I think he was out of line on this? I don't think that he did anything wrong. I mean, the referee is kind of the one that's getting the skate out of all of this because he didn't hear it called. Well, if you're gonna, first off, you shouldn't be calling a foul on a shot that's not a foul. That's a player option, not a foul. So, yeah. I mean, that in itself is whatever. Let's say he had a slip of the tongue, whatever. Yeah. You need to verify what you need to verify before you start throwing out, all right, you're done with your inning, or you're calling a foul. You need to stop play. You need to check to see if he did it. That's fine. But like, DeLuna did nothing. DeLuna stood up once he said foul. I mean, I don't think that DeLuna's out of line for doing that. Mika going off on him after that.
I don't know. There's two seasoned full-time professional pool players, and the third guy in that arena is not a professional pool referee. So there are 2 guys there who know the ins and the outs of the game. There's no way DeLuna didn't know what Mika was going for.
Oh, he was just causing trouble.
Yeah, and that's what Gord said too. Like, it's an obvious call. You're correct. It is an obvious call. And I had this in a tournament that I played in on Saturday. Somebody played a shot. There was a ball. One of my balls was hanging in the jaws, and his ball was like 4 inches away. And that was my second to last ball on the table. And my last ball was down on the end rail, and it was completely in trouble. He shoots the ball through my ball, doesn't call it, but he just shoots the ball through my ball, and he plays his cue ball for a safety. Well, he stays at the table. I'm like, "Did you call that?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's obvious." This is one of those situations. Well, yes, it's obvious, kind of. It's not, right? Because by the letter of the law, you have to call.
The rule doesn't say kind of obvious.
There's no, there is no obvious bank,
close to
obvious kick shots, and there's no obvious like shooting a ball through a ball. You have to call all of those things. Yeah. Do you have to call a straight in ball? No. Do you have to call a cut? No. Do you have to call a combination? Yes. Do you have to call every bank? Yes. Do you have to call every kick shot? Yes. He should have called it. If he didn't call it, he was saying he called it. He said he called it.
And they checked the video.
I don't know if he called it or not because you can't really. I didn't see anything from the audio that said he called it.
No,
but he said he did.
Yeah, the commentator was talking while Mika was down in his shot originally, and then we didn't see the replay, so we couldn't have heard him on the audio because the commentator was talking. But they've gone and checked it. They've gone and checked the tape, and he mouths it. So I mean,
okay.
So he's called it. Whether the refs heard him or not is like in.
That's the ref's job.
That's the ref's job, yeah. So, but again,
Mika's got to make it obvious.
The referee is not a professional referee. If there are no referees, then we don't have these big events. They are basically volunteering for these things. I know the guys don't get paid much of anything. The matchroom guys do. But I know, the vast majority of the referees at the large events don't get anything. They might get $50 a day in the room, half discounted or something like that. But they're doing it for the passion of the game. And if those volunteers, semi-volunteers don't turn up, there's no tournament. Or the
kudos to those folks that do it.
There's not a tournament to the level that we, the players, being selfish, want to see. We want a score mark around a referee at every table. So they're not going to come out of thin air.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I don't think that DeLuna was in the wrong here. I think Mika handled it the wrong way, but I don't think if there's one, he was aggressive verbally. He wasn't aggressive physically. And honestly, it got kind of heated enough to where I didn't know what the hell was going to happen because it actually, Mika was saying it in a pretty aggressive verbal way. I didn't know what was going to end up happening out of it, but I think the ref is getting off easy. Mika did not handle it the best way, but I thought it was hilarious.
The ref
it's a bad look. It's a bad look, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, the ref's in a bad position. I don't think any blame can be placed on the referee at all. In fact, he's gone back and made the right call, which a lot of people wouldn't do. A lot of people would just say, no, I was right the first time. I'm not looking. So I think the ref's done a really good job in a difficult situation. But I do think Mika, I would say that was physically aggressive. He's looked at him, he's shouting at him.
Pretty much.
You could say that, and I wouldn't push back. I didn't think it was physically aggressive, but I thought it was very verbally aggressive. And if what Laura is saying is correct, this is the first time I've heard that. I don't know that Jeff called Mika a liar.
There you go.
I've heard that.
Yeah, there you go then. So Jeff's go.
Did you hear that? Either of you?
I didn't, but Laura's obviously seen that, watched it, whatever it may be.
I don't even think I saw Jeff say a word the entire time, hardly.
He was, even when he went back down and sat in his seat, he was saying something. You could see him saying something to Mika, but I don't.
And if that's the case, then that makes me look at DeLuna a little bit differently then in this situation. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree that the situation wasn't ideal. It was kind of entertaining. But at the end of the day, I think Mika handled it the wrong way. And he handled it the wrong way, partially because he's worked up. It's late in the set. He thinks he just made the shot to win the set. And DeLuna is known for pulling moves, which is going to give him a shorter leash to begin with. And
pulling moves, is that short for sharking?
His stuff goes beyond sharking. It's not just sharking with him. He is comfortable working at the edge of. He is very comfortable working at the edge of the rule book or crossing over it completely to try to gain an advantage. When he breaks completely out of the box against Fedor, that's pretty obvious stuff. No, but you've been playing this game for 20 years at a professional level. You've been playing at it for at least 10 years, and you can't tell that you're 4 inches out. You're halfway to the third diamond. You're not doing that on accident. You can see the break spot when he does that. It's not even close. The ball is 100% out of the kitchen. You're doing that for a reason.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you're ever around a professional player who's been around for a long time, 5 years or more, ask them for their best DeLuna story. Every single one of them has one if they've been around long enough. With that being said, I've never had a bad interaction with him. I'm not one of his competitors, but I've never had a bad interaction with him. But I'm not competing against him, so I don't know. It's a weird situation, regardless.
It's something that happened. It's kind of funny because really real world, no harm was done in the end, so everything's good. But I'm happy that it happened on a tournament that was on YouTube and not a tournament that was on Sky and DAZN and all of those things, because it's a bad look for professional pool. So I'm glad it didn't happen where the wider public could see it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
but these things happen to all of us.
should we
kinda
move on
crazy
from one
stuff like
controversy to the next obvious
Earl?
controversy with Earl?
Earl.
Do we have anything else to say about the Predator World 10 ball? Congratulations to Eklent. I mean,
Yes,
that's an obvious
absolutely.
one.
Congratulations.
I guess
What a
I'll
show he
do
put
really
on.
quickly.
It was wonderful to watch.
Fedor Gorst and Joshua Filler get third, fourth. Koping Chung, Shane Van Boning, Dennis Graba, and Aloysius Yap get 9th through 12th, or I guess 5th through 8th. Chang Jung Lin, Marco Tauscher, Jean Van Leerop, Wu Kun Lin, Conrad Justishin, Lee Van Corteza, Oliver Solnaki, Max Lechner get your 9 through 16th.
What was
let's
the
move on.
least the tournament paid for the people who made the final 16?
I actually don't even know what the payouts were.
It was 60,000 for first, 40 for second. I know that. But then I think it was maybe 9,000 for where Shane ended up.
Oh, here we go. Payouts. 60,000, 40,000, 20,000, 8,000, 3,750, and 1,500 for 17 through 32nd.
Oh, wow, tailed off.
Yeah, I mean, it's super, super top heavy.
Yeah, super, yeah. But
it sounds, really, first and second especially, yeah.
Well, first, second, and third. But I guess fifth is, third, fourth is 20,000 each.
Yeah.
Fifth is 8,000 each, but there's 4.
World Championship, top heavy's good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't. At the end of the day, I'm always an advocate of keeping as many players alive with their professional dreams as possible. At least until the purses get up to be about 100 and 150,000, to where you could win one a year and be okay. I like the idea of keeping as many people with as many bullets as they can.
Definitely.
So I like paying deep. But all right, let's move into the Earl controversy. I guess I mean, it's not really a controversy, right? I mean, it's just kind of, at the end of the day, it's Earl being Earl. And I get a lot of you always have your Earl lovers who are like, he's a legend. Who the hell are you? You've done nothing ever, and he's won 1 million world titles and 1 million titles, and you're just a hater. Correct. You're right. I am a hater. However, I am a hater who has the interest of the future of this industry at heart. And at the end of the day, we are keeping Earl Strickland around, not because he can play pool. We are keeping him around because he is a clown at this point. When he's playing against okay, Chris, you're on the tail end of the professional players, sorry, but you are a professional pool player. Can you name 5 players in the world at this point that are more liked than Francisco Sanchez Ruiz?
5 that are more liked?
Yes.
No, he's just universally liked, isn't he? He's just
Does anybody in the world not like Francisco Sanchez Ruiz?
Not, I don't know them.
Everybody loves the guy. He's never been accused of pulling any moves ever.
I know.
He's perfect. I mean, he is damn near as close to a perfect representation of class pool as you could come up with.
Yeah.
So when you have Earl Strickland telling him he shouldn't be moving on my shots, that's why I missed the ball. I was looking at him. The ref says he wasn't moving. Earl responds with, I know. I thought he was going to.
Yeah, he was gonna move.
Well
for all the pool players out there that want to think about a psychological perspective in the game of pool, here's one for you. I've had a couple quality pool players in my life tell me this, that they never, ever accept responsibility for a mistake in pool. There was always a reason other than themselves having a flaw for what just happened during the game. And they use it in matches, that same mental framework that they never blame themselves for anything bad that happens in the game.
So that was a clown move. At the end of the day, that is a clown move. What I will say to this I don't have a problem with that. I think it's silly. I think like I said, it's a clown move. What I do have a problem with was the very next match. He stares Rita down, and he was extremely aggressive with the way that he was staring her down. He was being an absolute asshole because she took a drink of water while he was shooting a cross bank that was not even at him. I mean, he was sure it was on the same side of the table as she was sitting on. She took a drink of water, so he has to look nearly 45 degrees over to be able to see her. And then he literally stands there and stares at her and starts like harassing her that she's moving around. And I don't know Rita. I mean, I'm sure at some point in time I'll get the opportunity to meet her in some sense. I don't know if she speaks English a little bit. I don't know if she speaks English fluently. I don't know if she speaks English at all. The fact that he sits there and like basically like tells her to stop moving and is like aggressive and staring her down.
Yeah.
She might not even be able to understand what he's saying to her. If she doesn't speak pretty good English, she's going to have no idea. All she's going to do is look up from her, like drinking a glass of water and having him staring her down and being pretty verbally, firm at a minimum at her for doing something. And she has no idea what she's done wrong. All she knows is she has this guy staring at her. That is an intimidation move. It is not a pool move. And all he's trying to do is gain an advantage over her by intimidating her. And he might not be doing it. He might not be doing it consciously, but that is the outcome of what he is doing.
Yeah,
that is
I don't
bullshit at a minimum.
I don't think he's doing it consciously to get one over on someone. It's just.
Have you guys ever been intimidated in a pool match by the behavior of an opponent?
No.
Yeah. I played in a tournament once, and I played in a tournament when I was 14. And when I was 14, I was about 14. I was probably like 70 pounds. I was a really small kid. I was a really small kid until I turned about 18, and then I kind of hit another growth spurt. But I was probably like 70 pounds, and I had a grown man, like a 45-year-old man, get into my face as a 14-year-old kid because I beat him 9-ball on a slop 9-ball. And he got into my face, and his son came and pulled him away from me. And I had like 3 people that were like there on my behalf that came over and like got in his face. But I had that happen as like a 14-year-old kid. He was just pissed drunk. He didn't like that I got lucky. But yeah, I mean, I've had that happen. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, sorry for my language for anybody who is out there doesn't like swearing. That is bullshit. What he did to her was complete. It's bad that he does it to any of his opponents. It's really bad when you do it to a woman that potentially doesn't even speak English.
Yeah. Well, the pool culture I grew up in was seriously maimed and sick. I just have to admit it. It was the whole culture. But anyhow, pool for sure was that there was no limits on what you could say or do playing a match against your opponent. In other words, any single tactic you wanted to use was fine. It was acceptable. Any behavioral modification things you want to do. And there was also kind of an inner pride taken from the person who could, get somebody off their game routinely the easiest by just maybe saying something to them. It was just a chaotic environment for pool. But what happened was all the players from that era have an extremely insensitive skin and just a lot of backbone in the game because things around them don't affect them. Yeah. Your environment doesn't affect you.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't know.
But
I just cannot stand the idea that he's going to whether he's trying to do it to gain an advantage. I agree with Aaron. I agree with you guys that I don't think he's trying to do it to gain an advantage. That doesn't change the fact that is literally what is going to end up happening.
Yeah, sure.
Oh no, I think Earl does it to gain an advantage.
Maybe he does it. Maybe he doesn't do it.
Oh no,
maybe he does. Maybe he does do it unconsciously. Maybe he just does it unconsciously. I don't know. But the fact that that regardless is going to be the outcome of that happening. And Rita she's a world champion. She is one of the best female players in the world. She does, and for all intents and purposes that I know of, she is a class act who just plays pool. doesn't try to gain an advantage off the table, she should not be subjected to that type of intimidation playing pool. I mean, I don't like Earl to begin with at this point in his career. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows that. And anybody who listens to the podcast, I get about 7 messages on YouTube after every single one of these things where I just go off on him. And he says, I get the whole, why you picking on him and why you always harassing him and you can't shine his shoes. And all of that is true. All of that is absolutely true. That doesn't change the fact that he's a goddamn child and he acts like it every single opportunity he gets.
That is why he's been invited, though. To be fair,
Yes,
probably because he can't play anymore. I don't mean that literally. I mean, obviously he can still put together a match or two, or he can still play at a high level. I'm not trying to say he can't, but when you're talking about 15 of the best players in the world, the fact that he's on that list, stop it. Same with Naoki Owens.
Yeah, he's going to be in a Mosconi as well, isn't he? Wouldn't you say?
No, I don't. It's so hard to say.
So?
Well, he's not going to qualify.
Into this, I'd agree, but they've invited. It's a new year. They've invited him to this. There's every possibility in the world that he gets in the US Mosconi Cup team. And is he in the top 10 players in the country anymore? Jeremy Seaman's better than him. There's so many players better than him now.
Yeah, there's a dozen better than him.
Yeah, so it is what it is. Invitation.
For the entertainment level, I think they bring him on.
Well, yeah.
He didn't, let anybody down with that entertainment thing.
I mean,
it's not going to help you win anything, but yeah,
exactly.
I will say he was actually on his best behavior for the most part at the Mosconi Cup. I have no complaints about that.
Yeah, pretty good.
This I have a complaint about because this is nothing more than bullying. He's literally bullying his opponents.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah, it's not good. But on the plus side for you, Nate, I think he's probably going to get knocked out of the tournament today. So,
isn't it after? No, it's after like day 4 or something like that.
Is it day 4 or something? Yeah. Well, he's probably essentially out of it, and he's close to being out of it now already. I would say.
I would say this. He played well. He played well in his matchup against Rita. But I find it ironic, and I haven't checked the stats today actually, so I don't know what he did this morning. But I find it ironic that the only match that he won is one where he literally bullied his opponents.
Yeah.
That's the only match. I'm looking at it now. That's the only match that he won is the one that he literally bullied his opponent.
Yeah, so he's out of the tournament then, isn't he, really? Is he 3rd from bottom?
He's got to be pretty close.
Woken then 3rd from bottom? I don't know. But
yep, that's it. The only one he won is when he literally stared down and bullied it. What
I thought was weird.
But I do agree, if you don't mind. I do agree with that, though. This is the PLP and the Mosconi Cup are TV shows, and a lot of people get mad at me when I say that too. But it's not a pool event. It's not a world championship. It's a pool event. It's a TV show. Just like WWE and WWF. I mean, they're fake wrestling. They're TV shows. They're not designed to be real. I mean, obviously everybody that's out there is playing as hard as they can, but it's not a real event. It's a TV show.
It's not the real Premier League. If it was the real Premier League, you'd have the 16 best, right? So it's not that. You know that. And it's probably only got.
Wouldn't go to 5. They'd go to 13 or some other number.
Well, it's got people in there that aren't even ranked. And I think one of the men's players is ranked 127th or something. Another one's 93rd, I think. And then the 2 ladies aren't even ranked. So yeah, it's a good event for Matchroom to be able to experiment with. They can do what they like. So that's great.
Oh, it is. That is good. So how are you doing on time, Chris? I know you said you living today.
I'm watching the pool at the same time as talking to you. I'm watching playing Conrad. Conrad's playing great.
Pool players are multitaskers. They are.
I'm watching it too. And so is Ryan Harmson, apparently.
Conrad's played great up to this point. He's probably been the best player in it. I think he is top anyway, but the way he's played, he's been good. Jason looks like he struggled a little bit, maybe. I think he might be trying some new stuff. He's not playing with his extension on his cue anymore. So I don't know what's going on there. He might be trying some new stuff, but been good so far. I always find this event interesting. You get to watch so much pool. There's probably 100 hours worth of pool over 8 days. Something. This is good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the match. I'm trying to find the stare down, the match kind of as we're doing this, of the way that he's just stared down. Read it.
So you're talking about the 10 ball that's going on right now.
They're 9
9
ball,
ball.
they're Premier League pool.
Premier League. Okay.
It's on YouTube because they've got 2 tables streaming
Okay.
on YouTube on the Matchroom pool page and the Matchroom multisport page. They've
Oh,
got
all right.
both tables going. So it's good. How old's Al now? 60 what? 62, 63 or something?
61 or 62. 61, I think.
Well, for the people like you who aren't keen on him, there's only a couple of more times you're going to have to watch him, I think. From that perspective, I'm always going to watch when he's playing. I do like watching him play. I like
watching him play too. I like to watch him play. I don't like to watch him be a child.
I like the contrast between the old style of playing and the new style. The contrast between Americans and Europeans is always good anyway, technique-wise and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
If you're a geek, then
yeah. Well, you see a few players. Well, I guess Tyler Steyer is probably one of them who was in the category of the European, maybe more style, physical style of pocketing balls,
stances and setup and stuff. Yeah, for technique-wise, yeah, definitely.
Yes. So there are a few, but not a lot.
No, there's not. There's not many. I can't think of anyone apart from Tyler. I'm sure there are others. Oh, Joey Tate. He's
Joey Tate, yes.
As well as Justin Martin plays very much like that too.
I'm not sure who that is. I'm sure there are others, and there will definitely be more.
I think he's a Florida player, right?
I think South or North Carolina, one of the two. Okay. I think North Carolina is where he's from. Yes, I guess Sophie plays a lot like Earl.
Filler just broke the 840 mark, right? Fargo rate 840. Is
really?
Now?
Wow,
that's pretty incredible if he did.
First player ever to break it. Wow. And there are a couple of others creeping up around it. So Fran's like 836.
Well, how do you go up from there? You got to play players who are better.
Well, you can play players at any level. You just have to not lose against them. You have to beat them.
You played at 835 and you didn't lose 1-7-0. I suppose your number would go up.
There's so many more opportunities for those top players to play each other under the right conditions.
Well, technically speaking, if you play a 300 level player and you beat him 100-0, your number is going to go up.
Funny,
yeah, but I mean, those are outliers, right? If we're talking about the guys at the very top of the Fargo rate stuff.
I mean, but that's the thing with the Fargo. That's a lot of people. Like, this is a misconception that a lot of people have. It's like, well, if I'm a 700 level player and I'm almost a 700 level Fargo player, a lot of people think that my Fargo number can't go up unless I play people who are 730 or 670, somewhere in that range. That's the only way that my number can go up. That's not true at all. I mean, at the end of the day, your number, every single match that you play, there's a predicted score. If you're 200 Fargo points higher than them, you're supposed to be winning 4 games to their 1. So if you win 4 games to their 2, your number is going to go down. If you beat them 8 games to 1, your Fargo is going to go up. It doesn't really matter what your opponent's Fargo number is. It's how well you do it against them compared to what Fargo would predict that you do to them. So, Joshua Filler could play a 300 Fargo and win 7,000 to 1, and his Fargo will go up. He could also play a 300 level Fargo and win 9 to 1, and his Fargo will go down because he's supposed to beat him by more than that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is.
The Fargo rate, it's interesting just to see the numbers at the top, but I think the real purpose behind the Fargo rate stuff is to allow intermediate level players to match up evenly against each other, right? It's not about 800s, it's about 400, 500, 600 players, right?
Yeah.
So I think it probably suits its purpose.
That is one of the nice things about that system, is that it can be applied across the board equally.
Yeah. It's never going to mean anything at the top of the game in real terms. It's never going to get you anything. But it's interesting.
Any of the 800s can beat any of them.
No, but I'll. I mean, everybody who says Fargo means nothing at the highest level, I am happy to give them every single player that is a lower Fargo rate for $100 a bet over the course of the year, and we'll see who wins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything, but in real world terms, you know, if you're gonna bet and stuff, yeah, that means something. But for the two players that are playing, like I'm watching Conrad and Elle play now, when are they ever going to talk about their Fargo rates if they're going to match up? It's never going to happen, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them ever in a million years. Oh Jesus, he just missed a 7 over the pocket.
Oh no! Well, maybe we should just. Can we just put this on the podcast, Nate? Can you just televise this?
No,
No, you can't do it legally. Probably can't do it. I suppose.
and I'm not going to do it anyways.
Oh,
It's a free product. Everybody can find it.
Yeah.
okay.
I finally found this. I finally found the spot.
You got it. Can you put that on screen?
Bring it on screen. Ed says, "Come on, let's go. It's free. Can't beat free, Ed."
Here you go.
Let's watch Earl. I want to see what he's going to do next.
This is riveting podcast right
How is Conrad's English? I don't know him. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty
yeah,
good.
it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Here's the stare. He just sits there and stares at her like this for like 10 seconds.
That's
And then he starts barking out like stuff.
I love it.
Because she drank some water.
Yeah,
And this is
Makes me kind of squirm in my chair right now.
and this.
Like, what you say? You're not serious, are you, Earl?
I'm checking the time. Like this is like 17 seconds later.
I like his shirt though, Mr. Nineball. I like that.
He just stares at her. This right here is 17 seconds later. This is now how he's like staring at her. It's just a bullying tactic is all it is he's literally bullying her.
Right.
Are you sharing something else?
Yeah, I just gotta get it.
Yeah.
This is like 17 seconds later, and he never lost contact staring at her.
Yeah, so the ref should probably step in there and do something. But it would be funny if he time fouled himself.
It would be funny.
But
that's because she took a drink of water on it. Like,
I know he's just yeah. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's not good. Laura just raised something good there. Did anyone see the highlight reel?
I did not see that. No.
Frame. Melling just doing.
I saw the kick shot Melling had. That was insane.
See, I was saying to my mate earlier. Every time you see Melling lining up something crazy,
right?
I feel like he's favourite to make it, no matter what it is.
He's certainly not drawing dead ever.
I watched that. I was watching that game live earlier, and he lined it up, and I was sure he was over 50% to make it, and I always feel like that when he's playing. He can just do. Yeah. He's so unique in that aspect of shot making. There's nobody like him. I can't think of anybody else who's ever been like him.
Yeah. I played Chris in 2011 out in Vegas in a 9-ball tournament out there. And it was I didn't even know who he was in 2011, but it was a thrill. It was just to watch him.
And
that was just a bar box tape. I mean, that wasn't a 9-footer. So
yeah, that would have been his first Mosconi year, 2011. I think he did 2011 and 2012. But yeah, he's just, and the thing is, you guys don't see it, but we've got English 8-ball over here in big tournaments, Ultimate Pool called at the moment. And like the last 3 or 4 times he's played, he's done something just ridiculous. Over the space of one match, he'll just do something absolutely insane. So for
the rack against Mika, that's all on the internet.
Yeah, for any promoter,
possible rack.
Any promoter, if he's playing in your event, there's a reasonably good chance that he's going to get a highlight reel that's going to get like 100,000 views or something. One shot.
Absolutely.
Done it in.
That Karam kick bank shot to start off that rack with, that in itself was worth the watch, period. The Not
And
the
just
last shot, but the first
the
shot.
Massey shot as well, and then the four railer. I think the four railer is the best shot of all of them. I mean, it's
Oh,
Yeah.
no room in there. I mean, no room between those balls for that four railer.
all right, guys. Well, let's close out the podcast. We've been basically talking about nothing besides anything. We suck. This
We're talking
this
about
show
Chris
this show
Melling
is stupid.
shots. That's
This show
something,
stinks.
buddy.
Everybody go watch actual real pool. We don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, we forgot to talk about the Slugfest 2023. Well, we don't have to worry about that because Ed Ladawi's coming out with this sweet racking little template thingy that's going to fix everything that's wrong with this pool world. So good for Ed. Everybody check it out in about 6 months. We'll talk about it more later on.
What?
We'll talk about it off air.
I have an idea for a pool invention that hasn't been invented yet. So I want to bring this to you guys after the podcast. See what
Yeah,
you
we'll
think.
talk about it. Okay, so who's your favorite to win the Premier League pool, and who's your dark horse? Chris, go on.
Fran and Conrad.
Rob, who do you got?
Yes, Francisco, absolutely. He's just top
Got
of
a
his
dark
game
horse?
right now.
Got a dark horse?
Dark horse. How about an American?
Sayal.
Say, I don't know. Is Skylar playing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Playing good.
Yeah, I like Alex. I always like Alex, but I'm gonna take Skylar.
Okay, I'm gonna pick. You know what? I'm gonna pick as my favorite. I'm gonna pick Sanjin, and for my dark horse, I like Conrad. I think Sanjin breaks through and wins one of these things. Although I really honestly think Albin's going to win because I think that he is the perfect player for this type of format.
Yeah, I probably is, but yeah.
It's kind of boring to do three-peat. So I'm going to say Sanjin. But I really honestly think Albin is going to win. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you always listening to our banter and our stupidity.
Stay tuned for some future virtual pool, possibly.
Yeah, we'll be back next week as always. Bye-bye,
See you, Chris.
everyone.